a long meeting, you guys. David and I are a little, well, I can't speak for him. I am. 5.5 hours.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
5.5 hours? I thought David said it was over at 10:17 and 30 seconds.
Well, it started at 5 because we had a closed session.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh. Well, you both look perky.
Thanks, Melanie.
As do you,
Please.
as always.
So please fill us in before you fall asleep.
You get the agenda up here.
Yeah, the hardest part is after a long meeting. Well, one is, do you eat dinner before, which means you're eating dinner at
4:30.
or 4:30, and that's a little earlier than I'm used to. And I tend not to like to eat before a meeting because then I feel sluggish. But then when you go late like that, by the end of the meeting, you're pretty hungry, but it's not healthy to eat, that late, and go to bed. So it's just kind of challenging all around.
We don't need
But,
any angry decisions being made.
Yeah. Well, just I'll go ahead and start. Just goal today is to provide an overview of the council meeting last night. As we've already kind of started indicating, there was closed session. It started at 5 o'clock. Closed session tends to be for really there's three topics that are covered in closed session, and the reason they're we usually operate under pretty much 100% transparency, but closed session is done for specific reasons. One is real property negotiations, and there's interest in acquiring a large piece of property with the open space district, and we do that in closed session because you want to keep the negotiations confidential, so as to not disadvantage the city and the taxpayers in terms of the price you pay. So that's one reason why you have closed session. The other reason is for labor negotiations, and in this case, the contract for the city manager for me is it ends in March, the end of this month, actually next week. And council was discussing a short-term extension. So for better or worse, you've got me as your city manager for 3 more months. So woohoo! Celebrate. I don't know what'll happen after the 3 months, but that 3 more months. And then there wasn't anything on the closed session agenda, but the other reason for closed session is potential litigation. So if we're being threatened of a lawsuit or in a lawsuit, then that's also done in closed session, and that's again for obvious reasons. We want you don't want to disclose your legal tactics to the other side, because that would severely disadvantage the city. So those are 3 reasons why you have closed session. And there's really not many other reasons why a city can legally have closed session. So you will see that once in a while on the agenda. We don't always have closed session, but if we do, it's one of those 3 topics. So after closed session, we actually took up 2 really important proclamations. One was to recognize March 31st as Cesar Chavez Day. The Mayor Turner was kind enough to turn over the gavel to our Vice Mayor Marta Cruz, and she read the proclamation recognizing Cesar Chavez, and I think that's a personal hero for our Vice Mayor. And she also spoke about some of the activities about the day of service with some students and some of the work she's doing to recognize Cesar Chavez Day in Cloverdale, which is really great. The other proclamation was, and since we have Donna, Susie, Melanie, Darlene, and Judy, was in regards to equal pay day. And this was to reflect the desire to pay women equally as men in the workforce. And so it was a recognition that there's still work to be done in that arena, but to recognize the important contributions of women in the workforce and that they should be paid equal as their male counterparts. So Vice Mayor got to read both of those proclamations, and if you're interested, both of those are in the agenda packet. Following the two proclamations, there were two presentations. The first presentation was by a consulting firm whose name is called Management Partners. And they're a very well-recognized firm in the state of California that does municipal consulting or consulting work for cities. They have a team of mostly retired professionals, whether they're former city managers, former finance directors, for big and small cities alike. And what they did for us was prepare a long-term financial forecast for the city that looked at long-term growth in expenditures and long-term growth in revenue. And they really, I call it, did a deep dive on the budget and did this forecast. And the intent is to help inform the council about some potential long-term budget issues. There is a structural deficit within our budget from the perspective that revenue growth is relatively slow and expected to plateau, whereas expenditures kind of tend to grow fairly incrementally every year, kind of in line with inflation. As you can imagine, we just like any other business, we buy fuel, we buy supplies, paper, tax, you name it. And as we all know, when we go to the store, prices go up every year. And including with that, of course, one of our biggest expenses is labor. And labor costs tend to over time also tend to creep up. We're still behind in terms of the regional labor force for a lot of our staff, but we've made headway in terms of trying to bring up salaries to a relative proximity to some of our neighboring cities. But it's tough to compete with cities like Healdsburg, who have bigger budgets than we do. So we'll probably never quite reach their level. But the forecast, there was a presentation, and it provided a lot of high-level highlights on the financial position of the city, and also provided some budget strategies for the council to consider to help address the long-term structural deficit. For instance, the city operates the Cloverdale Municipal Airport. The airport, Bert probably knows, tends to have more expenses than revenues. And the only way to address those expenses is to backfill it with general fund revenue. And so the one way to address the long-term structural deficit in the general fund is to reduce the amount of revenue that needs to go to the airport. And that's challenging because there's not a lot of opportunities for revenue for the airport. But it kind of gets into those kinds of issues, and it's a really interesting memo and a really interesting presentation. And I encourage, if you have a chance, to take a look at that, because it gives you a pretty good perspective on all the revenue sources and expenditures by the city. Following the presentation by Management Partners on the financial forecast was a presentation by the Cloverdale Chamber of Commerce, and our own Nina Hanchett, which I often refer to Nina as part of city staff in a way, because she functions in the chamber, works so collaboratively with us in a lot of things that we do. one area in particular, and I know Melanie's aware of, is with Resilient Cloverdale and promoting Resilient Cloverdale and marketing, but also all the work they do with supporting our business community and economic development. We often say we're team Cloverdale when we talk about the chamber. But what Nina did was provide a presentation on all of their activities that they've engaged in over this current fiscal year. So starting back in July to the current day, and it was pretty amazing, all the stuff even during COVID that the chamber was able to accomplish, and a number of the events and activities that they promoted that I think has went a long way to helping us make our way through the pandemic during closures, and again trying to promote as much business activity as possible safely and within the requirements of the health orders, which has been very challenging, of course. So great presentation. And as part of that presentation, they also provided a graphic for a proposed sign on Highway 101 near on the north side of Cloverdale, near the Highway 128 interchange, reflecting that as you come down in the southbound lane on Highway 101, that you're entering the Alexander Valley, which is an appellation within that's pretty well recognized in the wine industry. And then underneath it would have Cloverdale. So kind of recognizing both the appellation as well as Cloverdale, and there is an existing sign already, I think, on the east side of the Crocker Bridge. So this will be another one, just highlighting to traffic going down 101. So a copy of that is in the agenda packet. A number of consent items, mostly routine, but one just to touch on. Kevin worked on with the school district was an agreement to place painted planters, which really are half wine barrels throughout downtown. And this is going to be a volunteer project with the school to place these planters and maintain them throughout Cloverdale. And again, just as a way to promote, try to promote civic beauty, but also to get folks involved in the community. And it's with interested businesses that want to host a planter.
It's also for fundraising. There's a QR code that you can scan with your phone, and then it'll have information about the student who made it. And then Melanie and Donna, they may ask you, I was thinking, they've been looking for locations, so I don't know if you guys would be open to having a couple barrels maybe placed at the library and the senior center. And part of the agreement was that they'll maintain them. So we're gonna, we'll see how it goes, but they're asking me for if I know any interested businesses. So it seems like you guys would be good candidates. So if you're okay with it, I can let them know that you'd be interested. And maybe you may have driven through Geyserville lately. They're all over the place, but like those are full barrels, so these will be half barrels, but it is for a fundraising effort. So if you guys are into it, let me know and I can.
Well, we would welcome it here at the Senior Center and also at Creative Notions.
Okay. Melanie, do you mind if I give your email to the school coordinator for this program and Donna as well?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I missed part of that. Kevin, I'm so sorry because I was emailing and something else, and
Yeah,
heard my name and I started to pay attention. What's these barrels? Are they for, I'm assuming they're for Redwood Empire Food Bank. That's what I was thinking.
no,
But
it's a school project. Students are painting barrels and planting them with nice plants. And then again, there's a QR code that people can scan and then donate to the school's art program. When you scan the QR code, it brings up a story about the student who created the barrel and kind of about the program. So really, at this point, the agreement's done. I think they're working on painting them now. They're just kind of looking for locations. I've been trying to coordinate with the chamber to find them willing businesses. And again, you as a willing business or location, you're not obligated to take care of it. It's kind of on the schools to do that. I mean, I'm sure they would appreciate any help, but so really,
we
it's
could put it right out front, for example,
yeah.
you know,
I mean, and you
where
can
we have curbside.
yeah, you can certainly let them know where you want to put it. We've already went over that a little bit. They can't block the sidewalk and just some basic rules about that. So I can
That
send
sounds
her.
Fine.
Yeah, I'll send her your guys' emails because they have, I think, I can't remember. There's quite a bit, like 45 of them, and they're really trying to concentrate on the downtown area. So I was thinking your spots would be perfect. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'll let them know.
Especially something to partner with the schools, because that's, you know, part of us. We want to partner with the schools.
Yeah, it's a school thing. So it's kind of a fun one. Hopefully, we're gonna be going into this drought and hopefully that they get maintained and but
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're game.
Thank you.
That's a great program.
Yeah, it'll be exciting, and at least those around Geyserville, I think they look pretty nice. It's when especially when they're painted and it's really it's kind of like public art in a way. So it hopefully will be visually attractive, and part of the agreement is to ensure that they're maintaining them and making sure that they're not in any kind of travel way that's going to affect folks walking on the sidewalk or create any hazards. So I don't think it will, but that's why the city always does agreements, just to make sure that we have all that in place. So good job, Kevin, for working on that with the school and getting that done pretty quickly. I think you'll start to see those probably pretty soon.
I have a question about those. Do we know when the end date will be, or is there any projection as to?
We do in the it's October. I don't know exactly. It might be Halloween, but it's definitely October, and we did write that in the agreement that they would come and take them away by a certain date, which is I think October 31st.
All right, thank you.
Maybe there'll be a chance to buy one after that. Well, the probably most significant item on the agenda last night was a discussion and updated presentation on proposed adjustments of water and wastewater or sewer rates. And that took up probably the bulk of the time, was reviewing the some alternative, what we call alternative scenarios. But by, just for purpose of background, the council had a number of meetings in 2020, starting in August and through November, on an updated study that was a financial model for our water and sewer enterprises, which, just for reference, both the water system and the wastewater system are what we call enterprises, and they're called that because they're really standalone businesses, and we are required to account for all expenses and revenues within the enterprise itself. So as if they were like a private company. And we talked a little bit about that during the meeting, gave an overview, and then started to look at the long-term expenditures and the long-term revenues within both of those enterprises. And one of the things that the city has really been focusing on is what are the important projects, and I know Mark Rincon spoke to this group about the capital improvement program, which highlighted the infrastructure improvements that are necessary to continue to support the city going forward, and also to some extent support any possible new development or new growth that is approved by the city council. And originally when we came forward, we had a fairly aggressive capital improvement program to get a number of projects done and completed. And of course, all those projects come with a price tag. And what council did decide during the last review period was that they didn't want to finance those through debt. So, basically a loan or a bond that helps generate the revenue up front and then you pay for it over time, but rather pay as you go. So what that entails is, generating enough revenue that you basically build up a savings account so that you can afford the projects that you want to undertake. And that's really the primary driver of rate increases is how do we raise this revenue to pay for these projects that are so critical for the long-term maintenance and operation of the city's water system. It's very, I'm oversimplifying it in this analogy, but it's akin to operating a vehicle. And just as you use your car, for example, at some point you need to replace the tires. You always have to do the routine maintenance and change the oil, change the fluids, put new fluids in. So that's kind of the routine maintenance. But at some point these things break or you need to replace them. And that's very similar to our water system as the large capital equipment, whether it's the tanks, the pumps, the distribution lines, all have a useful life and need to be replaced. And our goal is to try to do it proactively rather than wait till it actually breaks, because if it breaks and we have to fix it, it's usually going to be a lot more expensive because you have to do it on an emergency basis. But more importantly, it also impacts our ability to deliver potable, healthy water. As you can imagine, when a water line breaks, we have to plug the hole and replace the line and make sure everything is continued to be chlorinated in a way that there's no bacteria and so forth. So and there's a lot of regulations. So what we presented last night were two additional scenarios for rates to fund those capital improvement projects. And it was really just an opportunity to present those to council, get their feedback and input with the goal of holding a public workshop on Wednesday, April 5th. And so we will be getting notices out about a public workshop. We'll probably do it virtually like we are now. And we'll walk the community through these alternative rate scenarios. We want to be upfront and again transparent with what we're trying to fund under these different scenarios, and again comes with it different price tags, and garner community sentiment about these proposed adjustments, and then bring it back for council's consideration at the following meeting on I guess it would be, I think it's April 12th. So fairly quick turnaround. And then if council, just the next steps, if council does support one of those scenarios, we would be sending notices out to all of the customers within the water enterprise. We call it a Prop 218 notice. So it's a very detailed public notice. that many of you, I'm sure, received it the first time when we were proposing to adjust rates. Except for Melanie. Melanie lives outside the city, right? Melanie, so everybody gets one in the mail, and it provides all of the required information about the proposed adjustments of rates, and then it brings it back to a public hearing. And what I'll do, Melanie and Susie, I'll send you a copy of the agenda report and presentation, and you can share it with the group. It's got a lot of information in it, and I won't cover all the details. I think the presentation would probably take, at least a half an hour to 45 minutes just to walk through. Of course, it is available on YouTube, and you can view the council meeting last night, but then we'll walk through it at the public workshop on April 5th. But if you review the presentation, it'll kind of give you a preview of what's to come, and give an overview of all the discussion issues that we considered. One of the big changes that we made, I think there was concern that the proposed rates were simply being adjusted to pay for new growth and development, and in reality that's very far from the case. Most of the infrastructure that we would like to improve within the water system are things that serve existing customers or existing ratepayers, whether it be replacing existing water lines. We have a tank by Cherry Creek Road off of Cherry Creek Court that was built in the 60s, and it's really, for most engineers feel it's exceeded its useful life, and it's just a matter of time before it may fail, and we want to replace that sooner than later. But there's other improvements like that are critical to our ability to serve our existing residents. And one of the aspects that we often don't think about, which is so important with our water system, is not only obviously does it provide drinking water, which is so critical, but it also is a critical resource for fighting fires. And we do really look at the flows in your hydrants. So when you look at a hydrant, you don't always realize that it's not just that the water comes out. It's at what pressure does it come out, and again, that's what's so critical for our fire department when they actually connect to that hydrant, that there's adequate pressure in that system to actually push the water out the hose and address the fire at hand. So a lot of work goes into that, a lot of detailed engineering, and again, those are the kinds of things that we're always kind of concerned about and looking at, and making sure we're ready in case there is a fire incident. We want to make sure that those hydrants work when the fire department shows up. So a couple other items on the agenda, but that was really the kind of the big discussion item for the night. And so I'll just pause there, Melanie and Susie and team, and is there any questions or comments at this point? Go ahead, Melanie.
I have a question for you, David. I know you said in exec session, your salary was discussed, and it's been extended for 3 more months, and that's just because that is the end of the fiscal year, and then it'll start all over again for you? Or, I mean, we're not gonna lose you here, are we, in 3 months?
That's ultimately a council decision. It's up to my 5 bosses to determine what my employment future is with the city. and, they're actively discussing it. I'm not in those meetings, so, I can't really elaborate on, what they say or, what their position is. So I honestly, I don't know, Melanie.
Yeah. And so you'll send us the information that we can put out to our membership about the public workshop with the city about the water rates? Okay.
Yes.
And we can
Yeah.
do an email blast that way.
Okay, that'd be great. We really would like, as many folks who are interested in attending to listen in to the presentation, and, if there's, and certainly between now and then, if there is any feedback, I'll send you the PowerPoint presentation. I'll send it to you as a PDF, so it's easy to send out, and the agenda report. And if there is any questions or comments, feel free to send them me, and we'll work on getting them addressed. I really do think it's important that our community understand, what we're, the financial plan for our water and wastewater systems, because it's such a vital service for the city. We often forget, what happens when we flush, we flush the toilet. We all do that. It's kind of forgotten, but it's a truly vital service for our community for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, I mean, right now the consultant indicated that we are paying the least amount, and that is really reflective of not keeping up with the system the way we maybe should have. So I've seen this in a lot of cities. There's always a day of reckoning when you put off the projects for a long enough time, and it's we're kind of there at this point. It's not, I don't think it's some of them are critical, but the point is we've enjoyed low rates for a long time, and it's time to start taking it seriously and looking at some of these big infrastructure projects that need to occur for our sewer and water. So it's going to mean everyone's going to get a little bit of a rate increase, but it's just, it has to be done.
Well, I know Judy and I both understand the importance of water where we are. It's a private community, and we're off wells, and we had to dig a well. We had to fund that well. We have to pay back loans. Without water, your property is worthless, and you can't survive without water. So, Palomino Lakes has had to pay the piper here generators so that we can pump the water when there's power outages, and we've had special assessments that are like 1 year it was $2,000 each home. So it's I completely understand that it's like David, like you said about a car. So if you don't do the maintenance on it, eventually that car is just going to break down, and then you've got a lot more expense. So
and I want to say that our team has been really on top of all of the the routine maintenance. They spend a lot of time making sure that the system is working well on a daily basis. It's really it's kind of like replacing the transmission on your vehicle. Get so many miles at some point, the bigger systems start just need to be replaced, and those are the things that unfortunately when you look at the cost are often are many of these items run in the millions of dollars, and they're just not cheap to put in a water tank and new pumps and new lines. It's just a function of the cost of these really large public infrastructure items.
well, and it appears that we will be having the COVID pop-up testing every Thursday. I know that I kind of let in our meetings that it was going to be during our food distributions, but both Bert and I got a little surprised. We had people arriving here to do the COVID pop-up testing. And I said, no, that's not what my understanding is. I go look it up and yeah, we're on the schedule. So, you know, we can help spread that word too, that we're hopefully gonna just keep going down those tiers.
Absolutely. Well, and Susie, share with me, my mic is going out. I'm not sure why, if it's the Wi-Fi or what exactly. So I apologize for that. Everything seems fine on my end.
It's okay right now.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's an overview of the agenda tonight, or last night, excuse me. I know our mayor wanted to join. He had kind of an immediate conflict with his work and was unable to be here today. So he wanted to say thank you for you know, him, you know, allowing me to present just an overview, and I'm sure he'll be back at it at the next meeting.
Okay.
Well, thanks, David and Kevin and everybody else who joined. And I'm very excited to see a nice, beautiful half barrel with some plants over at Creative Notions in the Senior Center. And I'll walk around the corner and see Donna and see it at the library. I just think that is such a great, sounds like a great project.
Yes,
second
that's awesome.
your
And I'm
email.
listening now, so.
All right, well, that sounds great.
Thanks, Kevin. Sorry
Okay.
that I was not, you know, it's hard being at work and trying to bounce all the balls.
Yeah.
All right, was that everything today?
I think that's it, Susie.
All right, well, I think that was a great overview. Thank you very much for picking up when Jason couldn't make it today. Thank you.
Thank you. Take
Great
care.
job, David.
See you,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Good job.